My husband told me his affair child is losing his mother and now needs a new place to live, so I told him absolutely not and that if he wants custody it's divorce. My husband and I have been married for 9 years, and in 2021, we found out my husband was being sued for child support. It turns out my husband had an affair shortly after we were married. It nearly ended our marriage, but we went to counseling together, and I agreed to stay in the marriage with the following provisions. My husband was to get a second job so that his child support payments did not affect our household budget, and at no point in time would I ever consider having a relationship with this child. If he wanted to pursue one with them, fine, but I have absolutely zero interest in this kid. To clarify, I never even wanted to have kids of my own, and one of our first date questions was if I ever wanted to have kids someday, and I said no. So my husband has been getting to know his kid over the past couple of years, and recently my husband came to me and informed me that there was some sort of baby mama drama. Apparently, she has to self-surrender in May and is going to be incarcerated for 8 months. My husband told me that he needed to take custody while his affair partner is locked up, otherwise, the kid would have to go to their grandparents, who basically live on the opposite coast from us. Their kid doesn't want to have to change schools or be so far away from their friends and dad. So, after my husband told me that, I got up and left the house. I went to the grocery store on the corner, grabbed a copy of our area's apartment guide, went back home, and handed it to him. He asked if I was serious, and I told him I still felt the same way as I did 3 years ago. He said he didn't think that was fair, considering the extenuating circumstances. I told him I don't care about the circumstances, his kid is not welcome in my home. If he wanted to take custody, I would grant him an amicable divorce, but I am not changing my mind, and I am most definitely not taking care of some other chick's kid. Edit. For all the people concerned about what a piece of work I am in making my poor husband work 2 jobs, he has never had a full-time job since we have been together. He works 2 part-time retail jobs now that add up to 40 to 50 hours a week. He currently only has supervised visitation with his kid. They see each other once or twice a month for a couple of hours with a social worker present. And for those who seem to think that I need to be the one to file for divorce, no, I will not. I am not the one who created this situation. If my husband wants to pursue custody, I have told him I will not fight it. I will grant him an amicable divorce and let him be on his way. However, I am not going to waste my own time, energy, and money to do so. He is responsible for getting his own ducks in a row for the situation he created. That includes being the one to go through the headache of filing. Commenter. I feel like, although your husband is the jerk for putting you in this position, you are handling it like a jerk too. If you felt this strongly, you should have divorced him. Do you expect your husband to go to everything alone? Graduations, weddings, holidays? I feel bad for the kid. Ops response. Yep, graduations, weddings, holidays, and everything else. I told him I would not be a part of the kid's life. If he wanted to stay married to me, he would have to accept that. Otherwise, we would pursue divorce. He begged me not to divorce and said he wanted to fix our relationship. You feel bad for the kid? Well, yeah, the kid got dealt a crappy freaking hand, but not my kid, not my responsibility. Op in the comments. My husband has untreated and fairly severe attention deficit issues, not the occasional forgetfulness and having trouble focusing kind, but the kind that comes with emotional dysregulation, impulsivity, addiction, hyperfixation to the point of self-neglect, etc. If he were a custodial parent, that kid would be sitting alone at school for hours because he lost track of time. And when those teenage hormonal outbursts from the kid hit, he is the kind of person who would stoop to their level and make it an all-out screaming match, which I've seen him do with his nephews. He's super fun, has great energy, and makes me smile every day. No, he is not full partner material, but I realize that I don't need that in order to be fulfilled in a relationship. The affair and my boundaries about his affair child aside, we actually do really love each other. Update 1. After posting, my husband and I continued to discuss the situation. I held firm and reiterated that I will not live with a child, and if my husband wants to pursue this, he will have to find other housing. We discussed divorce, we discussed temporarily separating, we discussed a lot. We sat down and had a pretty big financial talk, as he is usually not involved in our financial planning. I showed him the numbers he realistically had to work with. I told my husband the truth, that while I love him, I won't lose sleep if we divorce. He has to do what's right for his own happiness and his kid. My husband had a bit of a breakdown over that. There was a lot of crying and him telling me that he loved me and didn't want to lose me. I broke down myself, and we had a really good cry together. He asked if we could go back to our marriage counselor. So, I made an appointment, and we went. We discussed the same things as above but with a counselor present. It basically boils down to my husband being very overwhelmed and conflicted about everything. He confessed he didn't really want to be an active parent but feels like he is supposed to. There's some deep stuff in there about his own family and race tied into that, so a lot of complicated emotions. He is terrified of losing me, and he says he wants to prioritize our marriage. Hearing me say that I wouldn't lose sleep over divorcing left him shook. Our counselor strongly suggested that my husband get into individual therapy and gave some referrals. My husband has not pursued that. It did become pretty obvious to my husband that he was not in a place mentally or financially where he could take full custody. So, the kid is now in Virginia with the maternal grandparents. My husband was actually going to visit the kid for their birthday this weekend. I gifted my husband some of my airline miles to buy his plane ticket. I did his laundry last night while he was at work so he'd have clean stuff to pack. However, my husband dropped the ball on his trip. I had plans for this afternoon that I left early for, so I wasn't home when he was supposed to get up and leave. He stayed up late playing video games last night and overslept. He ended up missing his flight and couldn't afford last-minute tickets on another. He's in a pissed-off mood and is playing Elder Scrolls now, trying to get his mind off of it. I've got my sister and some friends coming over for a salsa canning party in a bit, so I'm hoping he gets into a good groove with his game because I'm going to have so many margaritas. Commenter. He's terrified of losing you but won't do anything to better his own mental state and somehow make sense of this situation by going to individual therapy? He intentionally sabotages his own trip to see his kid after you literally gave him everything to make it happen, and now he's playing games and not contributing to preparing for a dinner party? It honestly sounds like he's trying to wear you down so you just agree to let the kid move in without him doing anything. Ops response. While you have very valid points, not helping me prepare the dinner party is not his fault. He actually did offer to help, and he did all of the heavy lifting to get it set up yesterday when I asked. He wasn't supposed to be here tonight, so he isn't invited to this party. It's a girls' night thing. My friends and I bought a few packs of tomatoes, jalapenos, and onions from the farmer's market and are getting together to make Incan salsa. We all share the chopping and dicing while having a few drinks and snacks, and then when it's all done, we each get several jars of salsa. Lots of shade can be thrown at my husband, but not helping prepare for dinner and stuff is not one of them. Top comment. Up, wisdom is chasing after you, but you're clearly way too fast.